Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. I'm the Monk and today we are in Crusader Kings 3, and within this video we're going to be talking about 5 recommended start locations in 1066. These are recommended by me, of course, and I'm going to be going over why I think that they are a fun playthrough. So if that's what you're looking for, then you look nowhere else. If you are interested in Crusader Kings 3 content, however, specifically for the console, then think about hitting that like button and subscribe to the channel, as every single video we do is designed for console in mind. Obviously, we're covering Crusader Kings in its entirety through the updates and bits and bobs. So if I haven't covered a subject that you'd like to see a video on as of yet, don't forget to pop it down in the comments. I'll do my very best to either answer your question or make a video on the subject that you've raised. But anyway, let's get into the video. Honestly, I think a great place to start, if you haven't, is actually where the game kind of gives you to do the tutorial mode anyway, and that is the Petty King Machad. I think he's a brilliant place to start. I think Ireland in general is a very good place to start in this game. That's for veteran players and for beginners. I think Ireland is a tough playthrough because you have to take control of all of Ireland, which in itself isn't an easy thing to do. I think it's quite difficult actually to take over all of Ireland. You've got to understand a certain mechanics. I think it's placed perfectly in a time period to kind of help you understand the game and the certain mechanics you're going to have to get better at, like for instance making alliances and stuff like that. You're probably not going to be able to take over all of Ireland without decent alliances, that is, and actually keep them, because you have got Scotland on your back, you've also got England on your back, below you've got Brittany and France. These aren't weak countries, and you're definitely going to need a little bit of luck when it comes to an Ireland playthrough. And then once you do manage to unite Ireland, then going in, taking Wales, England and Scotland over, I don't see that being an easy thing to do. So I think it's a very fun playthrough. Alliances are definitely going to be something you're going to have to look at. Luckily, you are unmarried, so that's nice and easy for you to sort out. Also means you're going to be able to have lots of kids, as you can have 3 additional spouses. You do already have 1 child. Personally, I think that's a good thing because, as you see, they are unmarried, meaning you can get at least 2 alliances straight off the bat before you even unpause the game. Like I said, for me, I think this is a very fun playthrough. I think there's a lot of mechanics to it. And I think Machad is a pretty good, decent, all-round character, really, to kind of understand the war mechanics of the game and the things that go with it. So yeah, Ireland, starting in Ireland, particularly Munster, I think it's a good play. Next up, we're actually going to be looking and going down to play as any ruler in 1066. This opens up the map entirely, and you can literally play as any noble in the game. There is a endless supply of different options, but we're going to be going over 4 others that I think is a very fun play. And honestly, these guys are just crazy. So, I mean, if you ever wanted a playthrough where you feel completely overpowered, this is the one for you. Let's load up. First of all, it is a clan, which plays a little bit differently from tribal and feudal government. But as you see, we are already married. We're not going to be looking for alliances when it comes to this. We have 27,000 troops off the bat, which is just an insane number. We also have 17,000 special soldiers. Now remember, special soldiers are really interesting because even as you go, through the game, my primary heir has a chance to inherit any of those special soldiers that are left by the time they come into reign. We are 37 in this playthrough, and so you could imagine we'll have a good 25 years, maybe more, to kind of carve out more land for ourselves. I honestly think that 3 generations in, you are able to conquer a huge amount of land playing this playthrough. Honestly, it's one of my favorite playthroughs, I think, especially in this location, in the world, in this time frame at least, because you are seriously able to take over so much land so quickly and so early on in the game, because you literally, I believe you're the most powerful nation here. 27,000 troops off the bat in 1066 is a huge amount of troops. You also happen to have 9 children, guys. 9 children. So if you already don't consider yourself strong enough, you are able to make almost as many alliances as you want, which is, again, huge. Again, you are also allowed 3 additional spouses. So when it comes to making more heirs and making more alliances, you will definitely have a huge amount of options. Literally, you are in the middle of the map. So where you go from here is completely up to you. You could go down here and take over Africa, or you could come up here into the east and take over a lot of land there too. You could even spread through to Europe, taking over Europe. I've done it. It's a lot of fun. I always like taking over Europe, to be fair, especially taking on the Holy Roman Empire. I think that's a good match for you. But yeah, this is a fun, exciting, fast-paced playthrough as well. You definitely don't have to worry about stepping on people's toes, because you're quite literally going to be doing it with a sledgehammer. My next recommendation is again a smaller nation. I personally have a lot of fun playing as, from rags to riches. This isn't necessarily from rags, because where it's located, it kind of enables you to have quite a lot of leeway, and that's Kong. I think this is a great place to start off. You do already own a duchy, you are a tribal government, and you start off at 33, so you are going to have around again 25 to 30 years to actually play through and conquer and swallow up just as many of these little tiny city states as you can. I think a good thing about this playthrough, however, is the fact that you are unmarried. I think that's a plus. You also already have an heir, and they are also unmarried. I like this because what it means is that you're able to make alliances, and a lot of alliances. If you look, you can also have extra secondary wives as well, meaning those extra alliances are definitely here. This is kind of an interesting playthrough, to be fair, because for the most amount of your time, probably for at least 3-4 generations, what you're going to be focused on is trying to gobble up as many of these cityscapes as possible. And there are some bigger guys around too. Typically, when I've played this playthrough, there are some absolute monsters that you have to overcome, and if you don't play your alliances correctly, you can be gobbled up yourself. So off the bat, from the very go, you are there trying to get those alliances, trying to get more land, and not be gobbled up. Becoming powerful enough to kind of fight the bigger boys when it comes to the next 100 years is definitely a focus point. But I think it's a lot of fun. I think playing, you're playing very centrally here, so you definitely have options as to where you want to spread out. But yeah, this is the fun playthrough. It is definitely all about managing those alliances. However, again, the only real downside to this is the fact that you are playing as a tribal government here. And my next choice, my fourth choice, is actually one of my favorites. Now, I love learning anything I can about the Norse and the Vikings and that sort of thing. And in 1066, Sweden is right here, right next to Norway. And you also have Denmark as well, and Finland. You are kind of like in the middle of this whole potential empire, and it's quite a fun play. I think picking Sweden is my preferred playthrough. You're already Catholic, so you don't need to worry about when it comes to spreading into Europe, because normally when you are of different religion, there can be serious consequences later in your game. You're also feudal, which I really like, because it means you don't have to worry about a lot of the techs. You are naturally going to develop all those techs, which again is awesome. And of course, you start out as a king. King Eric II of Sweden. You also start as a 20-year-old, guys. That means that you're going to be, you are going to be in this life for a good amount of time. You could be looking at 50 years, maybe even longer. So you're going to have a huge amount of time to kind of grow Sweden into the empire, into the Scandinavian empire. It's not an easy challenge. It definitely it's going to take a little bit more work to it, taking out Denmark and Norway and Finland, becoming that Scandinavian empire. It could be tough if you give them a little bit of time. Obviously, gobbling up the smaller nations are going to be very easy, but remember, you do also have the Holy Roman Empire on your back as well. Like I said, this is a fun playthrough. I really enjoy it. I think it's always going to be iconic playing as a Viking for me. It's definitely always going to be one of my preferred playthroughs. I've played a lot of time playing as the Vikings. I also quite like that we're unmarried, meaning that immediately we can create an alliance. And as you see, we do have 3 sons off the bat as well. None of them are married, meaning that we are able to get those 3 additional alliances, helping us, complete the task that we're setting out for us in making an empire. Like I said, it's a fun one. If you haven't quite made an empire yet, I think Sweden's probably one of the best empire runs. I think it's easier than Britannia because sometimes starting out in England or Scotland or Ireland can be extremely difficult actually to manipulate your way into getting enough power and enough counties to make that empire. But yeah, so that is my 4th choice. It would be definitely Sweden and King Eric II. And lastly, my 5th option is going to be possibly a little bit of a different playthrough than I've recommended so far. So for my 5th playthrough, as we can see all the kingdoms. If we have a zoom in, we can actually find ourselves a vassal right here. There he is. Now he is 34. He's also feudal and has an heir. But choosing him actually means that you're starting out as a vassal to someone else. If you look, you actually have a liege here. I again think this is a fun playthrough, and one of the main reasons I think it's a good playthrough is, generally speaking, he has a high learners. Now these stats do change from load to load. You always have slightly different stats. They're kind of randomized, but 9 times out of 10 what I've seen is that he has a high learning. If we look right now, he has a 17 learning skill. I think the last couple of times I've seen him, he actually has 20 or above in learning. It's actually the lowest I've ever seen him with learning. But the point is he has a high learning. Now, there's a lot of stuff you can actually do with learning when it comes to the lifestyle trees. And I think learning is definitely one of the most important stats in the game. He's also unmarried. He also has a son that is unmarried. So when it comes to finding allies, you already have options there. Also, don't forget, in a lifestyle tree, there is a perk which will actually allow you to go against your liege and go for independence yourself. So that's something to consider, because actually getting the power to revolt against your liege in the first place is going to be a challenge. That is going to be part of the challenge when it comes to this playthrough. And again, like I said, you have to play a little bit different. You have to play a little bit more cunning. But that high intelligence definitely helps for quite a few things. You're also relatively young as well, at only 34. So you definitely got some years ahead of you. But yeah, so that is my 5th choice. And they are my 5 choices when it comes to what I think is a good start. A starting player for Crusader Kings 3 in 1066. There are a lot of options and a lot of more people that I could have mentioned. But I hope you've enjoyed those. I hope that you guys actually give 1 or 2 of them a go. If you do, let me know. I think my favourite out of all of them, though, is probably Sweden. I like the idea of taking over the idea of Sweden and managing to get the Scandinavian Empire. I think that's a big challenge, and I personally enjoy playing as the Vikings. However, these guys playing as them, absolute brutes. These guys are absolute brutes, and you can have some serious fun playing these, just sweeping across the board, gobbling up everyone around. But guys, if you enjoyed this video, found it entertaining, don't hit that like button, and of course subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, comment down below. Do my best to answer them. And until next time, guys, I will see you in the next video. Take it easy and happy gaming.